Death Stranding 2 is the perfect representation of everything that is wrong with modern gaming and modern society at large. As is the case with pretty much every one of my videos, people are probably going to ask, is Death Stranding 2 woke? Well, let me answer that question with another question. Do you think a game where you play as an immortal, autistic, incel golem that serves globalism, surrounded by women with superpowers who direct the story? I mean, Sam basically plays second fiddle despite being the main character. He has almost no character. Norman Reedus is essentially playing a Ryan Gosling type role. In fact, this game reminds me a lot of Blade Runner 2049, which we'll go into later, but if you were working for the bad guy the whole time. But yeah, Sam has no agency. Fragile is a better main character than he is. Tomorrow has superpowers. Deborah Wilson's in this fucking game talking about how great mothers are and how evil men are. I'm not making that shit up. That really happens. And to dive, a little bit deeper into the conspiracy paint here, I think this game quite literally represents what the World Economic Forum wants for Western civilization. Own nothing and be happy. And that's an order, by the way. It's not that you will be happy. No, you will fucking cope and lie to yourself and say that you're happy. That's what this game is really about. Now, having said all that, this is not a review of Death Stranding 2, and I'm sure some of you are going to click off the video immediately as soon as I said that, but I'll be honest, as a game, it's just a better version of the first game. So if you like the first game, you'll probably like this, but I would never in a million years recommend you purchase this because of what the game represents. And I imagine if you clicked on the Synthetic Man channel, you're probably against Globo Homo, for lack of a better term. So you really shouldn't be buying this shit, and if you're a normie who stumbled on this video, get ready to delve into the schizo iceberg, the tinfoil hat shit that makes people knee-jerk and write stupid comments every time. Because that's mainly what we're going to be talking about here. This is very much a black pill style video. On this channel, at least in videos, I try not to make content that isn't really about video games. Even when I cover movies, I'm talking about video game movies. But despite Death Stranding 2 being the inspiration for this video, this is very much about men in modern society and how we all lack purpose and have to cope. Because Death Stranding 2 is about a goddamn wagey who copes because he has nothing left to fight for. And yes, I'm going to spoil some things from Death Stranding 2 in this video, but something that happens at the end of Act 1 is a perfect representation of everything wrong with this game's story. And I want to talk about the nature of wage slavery games, because there's a lot of these now. I mean, Euro Truck Simulator was crazy popular on Steam, and I bet a shit ton of people still play it. And despite the reputation in the early days as basically being streamer bait gimmick games made of Unity asset flips, or I guess these days Unreal Engine 5 asset flips, there's a whole host of simulator games that are not parody in any fashion. I mean, we're talking about like washing cars, flipping houses, working in a card shop, etc, etc, etc. And that's not even going into the various other genres that waste your time in various fashions, giving you almost nothing of value for that time, like survival crafting games, or the type of MMO I can only describe as RuneScape likes, and basically every single mobile game that is designed to milk your wallet dry. And don't worry, this isn't gonna be me just throwing shade at people who love to waste countless hours as a NEET because they have no purpose in life. I've been there and I've done that. I was one of those fucking people who grinded import-export in Grand Theft Auto Online because I had nothing better to do with my life. So just know I'm speaking from experience when I talk about some of the things in this video, okay? And don't worry, I am going to cover my basic thoughts on Death Stranding 2. Other than the gameplay, well, yes, I'm going to talk about the Amazon shipping shit, of course. But I'm not going to talk about the combat. Not that it's very good in the first place, trust me. So don't worry, by the end of this video, you won't be wondering why I didn't just make a review. I'm going to cover my most important thoughts in this video. So without further ado, let's talk about wage slaving in video games. So since I'm sure all of you clicked on this video to hear about Death Stranding 2, let's talk about that first. I'm sure your first question is, did I play the first game? And yes, for about 10 hours, that's as much as I could stand. I don't think I should have to tell you this, but I don't find it particularly appealing to play as an Amazon shipping worker. no, I don't care that you're the last hope of humanity to bridge the broken connections between us after the 2016 election, which is supposedly what the game's really about. Now, what does that have to do with using fetuses to see ghosts, connecting to the beach, which is like the afterlife, and your fucking sister bringing back you as a dead fetus, which caused the Death Stranding, and you're adopted by the goddamn president, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. The plot was fucking retarded. I have no desire to go into the nitty-gritty details of the Death Stranding universe. As a post-apocalypse, it's really dumb and not nearly as interesting as Kojima thinks it is. All you need to know is, like, over 95% of the population is dead. This is like a true post-apocalypse, but not with cool mutant monsters like Fallout or any of the sci-fi technology, really, other than autonomous drones and exoskeletons. I mean, we're fucking stuck with electric vehicles that can't even drive up a hill. So most of the technology is pretty boring. You're not even really allowed to kill people, because if you kill somebody, it ends up creating huge craters, which is how most of the population got wiped out in the first place. But the real reason why you are humanity's last hope is because you're a repatriate, which just means you're immortal. Every time you die, you just come back. So it's up to you to ship everyone's important packages by yourself, the ultimate wage slave. Now, you could argue in the first game, at least you had some real things to fight for. One was to protect your BB, your little fetus, Lou, and the next was to find your sister Amelie, which of course was kind of a lie, but again, not gonna go into that, right? But still, decent motivations to connect all of America, even though everyone's fucking dead, so there is no America anymore. And over the course of the first game, we were told numerous times that the female president is the only reason why things hadn't fallen apart even worse. Obviously, we know who Kojima wanted to win the 2016 election, the fucking moron. And he even almost directly quotes Hillary Clinton in the second game, as we'll get into a little bit later. So what you need to know going into the second game is basically Sam frees Lou and lets her grow as a normal little girl. Like, she doesn't have to be this fetus piece of equipment that people just throw in the trash. And so Sam goes off the grid, which is where we find him in Death Stranding 2, near the border to Mexico. And of course, Fragile, the hag from the first game, has to come find you again and rope you into a new adventure to link up Mexico. Yes, this isn't about rebuilding America anymore. This is quite literally about spreading globalism, because later we go to Australia too. We need to connect the entire world under the chiral network, under one world government. And no joke, they tell you twice that the UCA has no interest in global domination. Can you imagine if I just randomly said to someone, no, I don't want to kill all my enemies, I don't want to impregnate all sexy women? Would you believe me? And of course, we're given the illusion of a choice. If we say no, the game quite literally loops the cutscene back, and if you pick no again, it fakes you out and thinks you have to play the intro all over again. Haha, very funny, Kojimbo. So we decide to help her, we end up linking up all of Mexico. Meanwhile, she's taking care of Lou on her own in our bunker. And what do you think happens as we head back there? Yeah, Lou gets fucking killed. The baby that you fought for the entire first game, he got his happy ending, just living off the grid with his daughter, and she gets fucking killed. Now, of course, you might be thinking, oh, that is a great plot hook. This is to keep engagement going after Tutorial Island, so to speak, right? So that you're really engaged in the next act of the game. Okay, well, I'm here to argue the exact opposite. If anything, Sam should have no motivation at all to help the UCA because he has nothing left to fight for. In fact, I can't show you the scene because it will probably get this video age restricted, but he tests out his immortality multiple times, it's implied. So I know some people are going to say, well, I mean, at what point do you have to just move forward? And that is one of the major themes of the game, even though it's directly contradicted, like, right after this, because the BT version of BB, Lou, crawls back into the pod and reverts to a fetus, now like a tentacle ghost fetus. and you actually travel around with her, go on one more journey with your ghost, which I know someone's probably going to spoil the plot in the comments or whatever. Yes, I know that Lou isn't really dead, and it might be connected with another character that you meet later. You could probably figure it out by what song she knows. And I think Kojima's totally not a pedo for having an adult woman have the mind of a literal toddler. You fucking globalist pseudo-toucan freak. But I digress. Let's finish up this little plot synopsis so I can get into the real point of this video. So despite having nothing left to fight for, with his only family being dead, Sam decides to pass through a chiral gate thing. Yes, now linking up all these networks has created portals that teleport to other sides of the planet, because you can't cross the sea and you can't fly through the air. Except we kind of learn immediately after this that they did create a tar submarine that can more or less teleport. So I don't even know why we need these gates, but who fucking cares? It's a metaphor for open borders. I'm not joking. This is globalist propaganda. I don't know how many times I need to fucking say that, but yes, this game advocates for open borders. I'm not joking. And I know I said this wouldn't be a review of the game, but I do want to point out one of the journalist lies that is going to become immediately apparent after a few missions in Australia. There were reviews saying this game has better pacing than the first game, as in like fewer cutscenes, more gameplay. That was just a straight up lie. I'm assuming some of these journalists literally only played Mexico and then wrote a fake review. Because once you get to Australia, there is 10 minutes of cutscenes after almost every single main story mission. I know that sounds like hyperbole, but seriously, this is reaching like Metal Gear Solid 4 levels of cutscene pacing. You get a 20-minute mission of driving around the giant empty sandbox where you just mooch off of other people's buildings, or at least that's what I did. All the generators, the roads, the zip lines, etc., etc. And then you watch 10 minutes of cutscenes on the submarine. Every single mission. The journalist just straight up fucking lied to you, dude. Like a blatant lie. This is like factually a lie, not a matter of opinion. This has worse pacing than the first game. But anyway, to get back to the plot, this is where you meet the new president of the US, except it's not the president of the United States, because I guess Kojima's trying to say that what's left of America is basically one big mega corporation, and this guy is like the CEO. And he was not voted in. No, he was elected through an algorithm. I'm not fucking joking. This is so dystopian and disgusting. In a better game, I would think it'd be kinda interesting commentary, actually. But this motherfucker is literally branded on his neck. The organization he works for is suspiciously close to APAC. Yeah, don't ask any questions about that. That's definitely a coincidence. So the new president of the United States is quite literally a golem. He's a puppet. And I know there's going to be someone who's already beaten the game who watched this video and says, oh, well, he was the villain anyway. That doesn't fucking matter. You're working for the bad guys the whole time, spreading their globalism with no player choice. You have no motivation, nothing to live for, no woman, no children. Yet you continue to wage slave anyway, because the cogs of society have to keep turning. That's what this video is really about, right? Sam Porter Bridges is not the real hero of this story. He's just the equivalent of the fucking garbage man, the sewer treatment worker, the Amazon employee. He does the grunt work that the women can't be bothered to do, who are the real fucking main characters. Fragile is the boss of Drawbridge, even though she doesn't do her whole teleportation thing anymore because of a sickness that she got from it, very much like a Kojima-ism to do that. You have Rainy, a woman who can summon the Timefall Rain at will and reverse its effects. Oh, and she's permanently 7 months pregnant, by the way. Yes, Kojima inserted his pregnancy fetish in this game. It's a major plot point that babies aren't being born anymore, which there's multiple different ways you could interpret that into the whole globo-homo narrative. But anyway, the point is this bitch can reverse the aging effects of the rain, which kind of seems woefully underused. We, of course, have Tomorrow, who is a totally mysterious character we found basically in the afterlife, who just so happens to know the same song we played for Lou as a toddler, like right before this. I wonder who she could be. and she has magical tar powers that can even insta-timefall age killer death robots that literally like swim in the tar and shit. And holy fuck, this scene looks so goddamn bad. This is why I hate girl boss shit. And if somehow none of that was enough to convince you that Kojima is a leftist or that this game is pushing progressive ideology, just listen to this quote from the game.
Women and children and the weak have always been easy targets. In every conflict and disaster, we're always the first.
Oh, Hillary Clinton line. Hillary Clinton line. This is fucking propaganda. This is propaganda. Yeah, not the men who go to the front lines and die to, gunfire, explosions. Are you fucking kidding? I hate Kojima. And look, I'm gonna red pill some of you motherfuckers. I'm not a contrarian who thinks the Metal Gear games are bad or anything. I think they're great games. But Metal Gear Solid 3 was one of the forerunners of girl bosses, okay? The boss is one of the worst, feminist characters that had ever existed at that time, especially in gaming. The greatest soldier who ever lived was a woman in the fucking 60s. You're an absolutely autistic, delusional, probably brain-dead weeb if you don't think that's woke. The only reason you don't is because you seem to think woke only existed after Occupy Wall Street, when feminism has been around in various forms for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I mean, there's an entire religion/ethnic group that is very matriarchal in nature, that I'm sure most of my audience is very well aware of who I'm referring to. But to be a little bit less schizo about it, you can say, at the very least, a lot of what we consider woke these days started all the way back in, the 60s in movies and TV shows. And I would argue at least a lot of the modern definition of progressive leftist stuff started with Marxism. But anyway, my point is Kojima has been at the forefront of girl bosses for over 20 years at this point, and although I do enjoy a lot of the female characters from the Metal Gear series, Kojima has always been left-leaning, but with Death Stranding 2, he's definitely played all of his cards. This is just Klaus Schwab's wet dream. I mean, I know back in the first game you literally eat the bug, and you're still doing this one for health and now for your battery life as well. I don't know how the hell eating a bug charges your batteries, but don't question it. But I think the entire gameplay loop of this game, the entire purpose of this game, is a perfect example of predictive programming. What you're doing in this game is what they want the modern man to be doing in the future of society, to just do these meaningless tasks that we are gaslighted into believing are incredibly important, where in reality, we have no agency in our lives and we're fighting for nothing. The only thing that is stopping us from either getting some free rope or starting a Boogaloo-style event is copes. And this game even has all the fucking copes as well. I mean, you saw the thumbnail. I think you know where this is going. So first off, we have the like system, a very shallow allegory that's honestly a little bit too literal. I think everyone understands what this represents. This is just like the fucking hamster wheel, man. You run, and then you're rewarded with food and drink. Wow, okay. I built this road, I get likes. I like other people's stuff. We're all contributing to society, but this also supports the own nothing and be happy, because every single base in the game has their own resources, and they also each have their own private lockers. There's no equivalent to the Resident Evil item box except on the submarine, and you can only store a certain amount of resources on the submarine. So that means one of two things. Either you do a shit ton of fast traveling, which takes multiple loading screens, or you do what's more likely what the game intends, which is you build a bunch of infrastructure around the base, and then you take everything you can carry and go to the next base. While it's not quite literally owning nothing and being happy, you're never truly progressing other than unlocking new weapons, new structures to build, stuff like that. You have to start over every time. So you're on this endless grind. And what makes things worse is that these structures degrade over time. Now, I think everybody's gonna just fucking beat the game before they see their own buildings break down, but this endless treadmill of keeping this dead society alive, again, is that not the perfect allegory for the collapse of Western civilization? And there's also an alternative way of playing these games, which is exactly how I played the 10 hours of the first and most of my 15 hours of this one, which is being the equivalent of a welfare parasite, where you just use everyone else's online structures and then contribute nothing of your own, because why would you? Everyone already built the roads and the zip lines and the generators, really the generators being the most important by far, because you're mostly just gonna be driving in this game. There's actually not much of a reason to actually run from point A to point B anymore, which is a good thing, actually, gameplay-wise. But the driving is so goddamn boring that, well, again, wouldn't you rather just play Euro Truck Simulator at this point? At least you don't have to watch 30 hours of cutscenes. And so if we're sticking with this huge metaphor about the game representing real life, after a certain point, just getting those social media likes isn't going to be enough of a dopamine spike, and there's not really an equivalent of video games within this video game, but they do have something else that has risen up in the past 5 years under COVID that got extremely popular. Vtubers! As you've probably heard, Picora is in this game. Yes, a AAA video game has a goddamn VTuber in it. Now, of course, my first thought is, this obviously reminds me of Blade Runner 2049 with the AI girlfriend, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that there's no equivalent to an AI chatbot in this game. That's really what it's missing. Instead, we get Dollman, which is basically just a copy off of Mimir from God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, and they even make a joke about hanging him on your ass.
Sam, would you mind if I joined you?
No, you freak. Don't touch me.
His knowledge and experience will probably come in handy down the road.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Really, Sam?
Now we're coming off God of War.
Buttocks. What about shotgun?
Yeah, see, he was making fun of God of War. I got it. Which I think is actually one of the only downgrades from the first game to the second game. If the whole point of playing a relaxing game like this is just to chill and drive around, the last thing you want is some fucking asshole doll chatting about nothing on your hip. It's actually really annoying. It's one of the ways that it makes this game like every other modern game. That was one of the very few compliments I could give Death Stranding 1, is it felt like a semi-unique experience. Not truly unique, because there's so many like indie simulator games that kind of do something vaguely similar, but as a total experience, Death Stranding still kind of plays different from other things, which makes it interesting in its own way. As someone who's played, you know, over 1,000 video games, anything that's a little different, I'm gonna be a little bit more fair to critically, just because I'm tired of playing the same shit. But now that we have Dollman, great name, that just makes this game even more generic. But anyway, to get back to the VTuber, so I'm not sure I even really have to explain what this represents, but for the sake of the video, I will. Modern men's society are essentially fighting for nothing. Many of us have no girlfriends / wives, no children to speak of. Many of us have very little dating prospects in the modern world. And while it would be very easy for me to go full misogynist mode and talk about how online dating has given women impossibly high standards, I mean, 80% of women only find the top 20% of men attractive. Basically, any mid or even uglier bitch can sleep with Chad in a one-night stand, which is inevitably going to significantly raise her standards. Call it alpha widowing, call it whatever the hell you want. So because men have these insatiable libidos, they're willing to sleep with women significantly uglier than them, which has completely destabilized relationships between men and women. Which actually, if that's what Death Stranding 2 was about, it'd be a far more interesting game. But of course, that game could never be made. Bridging the connections between men and women would be something I'd at least be personally invested in. But no, the Death Stranding universe is very sexless. In fact, they literally have breeding programs, which is how Rainey got pregnant. I don't know if we ever meet the father in the game, maybe we do. But it certainly was not a focus of the narrative. No, it was about a strong single mother with time-altering powers. Not woke, by the way. But of course, I'm rambling and going off on a tangent again. And so to get back to the point, we have no women, we have no purpose, and so we must cope in various humiliating ways. Whether it's talking to AI chatbots, blowing all our money on gacha waifus, or giving it away to women pretending to be anime girls. And it's important to remember that this is not necessarily pornographic in nature. This is an extension of the male loneliness epidemic. Young men are unwanted and unloved. And so we seek these girlfriend experiences, essentially. Now, does that make it any less pathetic that it's not porn? No. It's still pretty fucking sad. And I will have to preface this with saying that, yes, some of you know I'm on good terms with a VTuber, so don't think of this as I'm talking shit about anybody in particular. I understand why these people do these things, and yes, I still find it somewhat morally questionable to milk the wallets of lonely, desperate men pretending to be their friend, girlfriend, whatever the fuck. But none of that is the point of this discussion. The point is it's all cope. These are all just ways to ease our never-ending pain. It's not going to lead to happiness or satisfaction with life. No, it is just staving off the rope. That is all it is. And it's not that there's inherently a problem with escapism. I mean, we all need to relax after a hard day of work. Well, maybe not me, because I'm a YouTuber, but for most of us, if you're working some wage slave job, you want to come home and just relax. And again, I don't think inherently that's bad. When it is a problem is when you're just constantly escaping from reality, which is what I did for most of my childhood, which is why I don't have a real job. Because video games were significantly better than my real life. But of course, you become an adult, and after spending tens of thousands of hours playing video games, they're not as fun as they used to be. And that can really apply to any hobby that you waste too much of your life doing. And so that leads you to find other copes. Obviously, porn is one of those things. Don't have to go into detail, but I've obviously wasted countless hours jerking off as well, as many men have. And that comes with its own dangers, especially having to look at more and more extreme fetish material to feel anything. And to wrap back around to this girlfriend experience thing, there's the loneliness aspect. Obviously, during COVID, the normies spent a lot more time locked up, and the loner type people probably even more than they already did. And coincidentally, this is also when VTubers started to explode in popularity. It was clear that most people were kind of tired of the e-thought era. Because whack-off material is so common and widespread, the novelty's kind of gone. I mean, yeah, talking to these vapid horrors could maybe be appealing for a while, but it seems like, just based on a lot of statistics I've read, Zoomers crave real intimacy, emotional support. And, well, honestly, let's just call a spade a spade. They want love. Reminds me of that Doge meme from a few years back.
Silence, wench. I do not wish to be horny anymore. I just want to be happy.
And I don't need to tell you how popular anime is. And so it isn't too much of a stretch, especially given how people can't really distinguish reality from fiction anymore in many significant ways. That people are able to delude themselves that an anime girl is worthy of their time, their affection, and worst of all, their money. And this is one of the ways that people keep living, keep being a cog in the machine. It is one of the copes, one of the reasons that Western society is taking so long to collapse. And so I'm not here to give you some kind of knee-jerk reaction that a VTuber made it into a huge video game. Obviously, I find it pretty cringeworthy. I mean, the first time I heard Picora speak in the game, like, just look at my fucking face, dude. But thematically, I think it fits the disgusting dystopian post-apocalypse future that Kojima created, where Sam Porter, the doomer incel golem with immortality, is forced to spread globo homo for no reward. His adoptive daughter now dead, he's fighting for nothing, yet you press on anyway because you are told to. Picora just represents another cope, a motivation for Sam to continue his Amazon wagey job without unaliving himself. Not that he even can in-universe. The only representation of roping is turning off the game and never starting it back up. Actually, it's kind of like Dark Souls in that way. The only way to truly go hollow as the player is to stop playing. And so this should come as no surprise, but the region that Picora is located in by far has the most structures that are all leveled up to level 3. I appropriately titled her region Simpland. And I myself even contributed quite a bit to these structures because I honestly had no idea how, like, the social link mechanic worked in this game. As it turns out, really the only shit that matters is delivering stuff to her or finding the lost packages. So I end up wasting a lot of time. And once you get her link to 2 stars, you get a hat, and you get to publicly humiliate yourself in the most autistic way possible.
Back up, back up, back up, back up.
This is what I wasted. I wasted over 2 hours of the stream. just to listen to that. So yeah, that's the closest thing to a Death Stranding 2 review you're gonna get from me. Obviously, you shouldn't buy the game. I don't have to tell you that. Everything this represents is absolutely fucking disgusting to me. I think I truly hate this game. And not just because it's a boring Amazon employee simulator. I mean, you are a globalist golem fighting for nothing. This is exactly what they want for you. Again, predictive programming. You do it in the game, you're gonna do it in real life. And so I actually don't want to close out this video here because I want to talk a little bit about the nature of wage slavery in video games in general, because it's been around a long time. I've been doing repetitive, meaningless tasks in video games since I was a small child. My first MMO was RuneScape. It doesn't get more of a waste of time than that. Just mindlessly mining ore, smelting it, and smithing the same 100 weapons over and over again to grind up mining and smithing. For what purpose? None. I don't even know why I found it fun, except just the novelty of playing with all these countless other people that I didn't even engage with socially because I was always such an introvert, and still am. And I wish I could say that was the only game that I blew a bunch of time on for no reason. I also played Adventure Quest Worlds, which is yet another just clicking simulator, with each combat class in the game only having 4 skills, and there's like over 100 classes or some shit that you collect like clothing. I've even spent some time on mobile games I'm deeply embarrassed of. Probably the video game that I have spent the most time on in my entire life was a Facebook game called Marvel Avengers Alliance, because believe it or not, I used to be a huge cape shit guy. My dad grew up loving comic books, and he passed down a lot of his comics to me, and so I loved superheroes until the movies kind of ran everything into the ground. And so I played this fucking turn-based RPG for thousands of hours, just daily grinding. It was essentially a proto-modern mobile game. And all that time is gone. The game got shut down like, I don't know, at least 8 years ago. And I have absolutely nothing to show for it. I never recorded any of that progress. It's gone. All that time down the drain. And after that, there was GTA Online. Yes, like I said in the intro, I spent over 500 hours in GTA Online. Who knows how many of that just running import-export missions, just flying expensive cars from point A to point B, and occasionally selling my bunker full of weapons like every 8 to 12 hours or whatever it was. And while, yes, I still do have all those things, in fact, I might boot up my PS4 and show some of my garages here. Who cares? What was I doing it for? Just to run the Doomsday heist one time with my buddies? I'm not even sure if we ever even ended up completing the casino heist. Even Monster Hunter World, at least the base game, I played like a wage slave game, because the end game was just killing the same Elder Dragon over and over and over again for a 1 in like 1,000 chance of dropping an attack jewel. Why did I do that? Why did I waste my fucking time? I love that game, and I was ruining it for myself because I had nothing better to do. And that brings us to the game that I'm sure all of you know that I play if you've ever tuned into a single one of my streams, Dragon Ball The Breakers. Now, that's not a wage slave game necessarily. It's an asymmetrical multiplayer game that's somewhat similar to Dead by Daylight, with some elements from Evolve, if you remember that game from a decade ago. And I've spent over 500 hours in that as well. Now, although I've had a lot of fun playing that game, and like I just said, it doesn't really have wage slave elements to it. There's not much of a reason to log in every day and fill up the battle pass or any of that stuff. You don't have to. I have treated it like a wage slave game because I stream it so often. Out of that over 500 hours I've played it, I think over 200 were on stream. I have subjected people to watching this shit game for a countless amount of time over countless streams because it's easy. It's like doing my job. Like, streaming itself has become a soulless job when I play this. But I love Dragon Ball The Breakers to death and will be sad when it finally shuts down. But when it does, it'll just be yet another game in this list where I have nothing to show for all my effort except, I guess, a million stream archives. And again, I'm not here to shame anybody about this stuff. I think all of us have wasted a fuck ton of time on a game that is just ultimately meaningless. There's so many examples of this. Euro Truck Simulator, any MMO ever made, Factorio, RimWorld, Kenshi, arguably a shit ton of JRPGs. And of course, I couldn't forget basically my arch nemesis of modern gaming, sandbox games, and to a lesser extent, Western RPGs, at least the ones with extremely half-assed side quests and open-world activities. And another genre that I just absolutely despise that is shockingly popular on PC is these survival crafting games. There's like 1,000 of these. And people will actually pretend they're quality games. I mean, remember Pal World? The amount of people who were pretending that game was good just because they hate Game Freak is unreal. And of course, a lot of strictly multiplayer games as well. I'm sure a couple of those examples in there will probably piss off some people, but ultimately you just have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? What are you working toward? If you're not really working toward anything, that's how you know it's a wage slave game. That's why Death Stranding 2 is like a perfect example. I mean, yes, you're working to connect all of Australia, but why? Why are you doing it? Is it fun to drive from point A to point B? No. No, it fucking isn't. You're wasting your time because you have nothing better to do. And that is the real problem with your life, with my life. If we had a wife, if we had kids, we would not be wasting time on this shit. And if you are married and have kids, and this is what you choose to spend your precious time on, you need to reevaluate your fucking life. The real problem with this shit, at the end of the day, is not necessarily the NEETs. I understand why the NEETs play games like this. You got no job, and so you treat the video game as a job to replace that hole in your soul, to give you some illusion of purpose, some illusion to contribute to society because you are a man and deep down you want to be useful to the community, but there's no way that you can do that in modern society. So I get it. What I do not understand, what is truly the soulless NPC behavior, is having a job, working fucking retail, or in the food industry, or any of these other meaningless jobs that serve no fucking purpose. And then you come home, and then you fucking play Death Stranding 2. Those are the true golems. You were meant to have no inner thoughts. You cannot imagine an apple. You can't perceive breakfast. You are the perfect slave for modern society. That's who these games are really made for. Escapism used to be simple power fantasies. You want to be the knight who saves the princess from the dragon. Well, of course, saving a princess is objectifying her, which is misogynist, so we can't have that anymore. We're not allowed to have any attractive women in video games anymore. And if there is one, it's some Coomer bait sex doll like Eve from Stellar Blade, with no substance at all. Men are not allowed to be men. You have to be a worthless cog in the fucking machine, simping for an anime girl's PNG pussy. It's so over, man. It's so unbelievably over. In fact, you could argue it never began, at least for many of us. We are not even allowed to fantasize about the things that we want anymore, because that's dangerous thinking. It's sexist, it's racist, it's homophobic, anti-Semitic. Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. It's all so tiresome, man. And you guys wonder why I'm so unbelievably negative about video games. And let's just be honest here. I'm gonna turn 30 by the end of this year. In a better world, I wouldn't even be playing video games anymore. I'd have a real fucking job. I'd have a wife and kids by now. But no, instead, I'm a 29-year-old man bitching about video games on the internet. That is the purpose of my existence, I guess, is my YouTube channel. That's the only thing I'm continuing for. It doesn't matter if I got, 150,000 subscribers and a bunch of money. That's just not good enough in this modern world, apparently, if you're an asocial spurg who hates people. And so yes, this video was never really about Death Stranding 2. It was about men having no purpose in modern society. Because in a way, that's what Death Stranding 2 is really an allegory for, or the real lesson of the game is to tell you to push on even if you have nothing to live for. Just keep working that wage slave job, Goy. We need you, you're so important, we love you. But no, you can't have a woman, you can't have children. No one will ever care about men's rights until society literally collapses, which unfortunately I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. And it's all because of these copes. These copes that have been around for a long time now. Whether it's TV, movies, watching sports, video games, pornography, and now we have even more dystopian things like Vtubers and AI chatbots to keep us going. Since nobody wants to even look at modern men, much less touch them. God, isn't that fucking great. This has got to be the most black-pilled video I've ever made on this channel, but things are pretty bleak, dude. They're pretty fucking bleak. So yeah, is it any wonder why I don't care about the video game industry anymore? It's not that I hate video games. I can still play some good games. When I was playing through Gex 2 and now some of Gex 3 on stream, I was having a great time. Doesn't even matter that Gex is like a pretty mid 3D platformer by the standards of that era. Gex is infinitely more fun than Death Stranding, and it's simple. It brings you back to the time of your childhood, even if I don't even get like a lot of the 80s references that Gex makes in the game. It's just mindless fun to take your mind off how bad things are for a little while. But yeah, you could argue that's part of the problem. I've read that comment on so many of my videos now. Whenever I talk about gaming is dying, there's always someone saying, gaming dying is a good thing actually, because then maybe you'll improve your real life. Well, that's a lot easier said than done. Many of us don't really belong in modern society, and we've learned that the hard way. And as much as I would like to believe that, you know, things will just work out, I'll just get lucky and things will turn around, I find that increasingly hard to believe as I get older. So I no doubt will read some normie comments on this video, talk about, oh, you know, just take a shower, smile, cold approach women, join a bike club or a cooking class. Just utterly worthless advice, most of which you have never taken yourself. No, the sad fact of the matter is most women are not attracted to most men, and most men throughout human history didn't even pass on their genes, yet most women did. Maybe get a paternity test if you have children. But I digress. The purpose of this video is not to encourage you to get some free rope. It's just to mourn the sad state of escapism and why we even need escapism in the first place. And I implore you, if you are wasting your time on something like Euro Truck Simulator or any of these other numerous indie game simulator games, or even worse, Death Stranding 2, please find some better entertainment. Play some old, really good, solid single-player games. At least then, you can feel like you experienced something. It might make you feel, right? Just like watching a really good film or TV show makes you feel something. It's memorable. It sticks out in your head. A really good video game can do the same. Just please stop wasting your life with these completely meaningless activities. There are better copes, ones that you could at least maybe share with other people and not feel ashamed to yourself. And if you do have a chance to have a meaningful life in real life, please take it. And I'm saying this as someone who wasted half of his 20s, and depending on how much of YouTube counts as a waste, well over half. So I'll leave you on that note. See you next time, guys.